Hello and welcome back to the next episode of Kerbal Space Program. And what is this? We have Matlorf Kerman, who's now by himself, leaving his ship to do bigger and better things. But what the ship might do, since it's approaching the periapsis, is it might just try to raise itself a little bit. Hopefully. This way we don't smash into anything. But they'll be fine. Let's go back down to Matlorf Kerman. So we'll make sure to orient ourselves in this direction. And basically what I'm going to do is burn backwards. That's right. We're going to bring him down, out of orbit. Say goodbye to your ship, Matlorf. You may never see it again. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get this guy on the surface of Gilly without his ship. Ship's going to keep going. We have achieved the orbit. We did that already, and we got data around Gilly. Matlorf waves goodbye to his ship as it just keeps floating on by. And as we slowly descend, I'm not really going to burn downwards too much. I'm just kind of basically going to let gravity do the work for me. And as you can see, this is actually the closest I can zoom in. He's just going to plop himself right down there. It's good to keep yourself oriented, so we can use the galactic line here as a good indication of which way we're going. So back towards the sun is kind of retrograde. So if we push ourselves, because we have no nav ball, basically we're flying by the seat of our Kerbal pants, basically. I just kind of want to make sure that he stays in the daylight. And there we go. So we'll use the galactic line as like our prograde, retrograde vector. The Explorer is kind of on that line, thank God. It's good to know where you are. Alright, so let's just do a little time warping here. Oh, Matlorf, he's really pulling his weight now. If he wasn't before. Just make sure that he stays kind of on that trajectory. And once that ship comes back around again, we'll just basically jetpack ourselves back into orbit. And yes, we'll have plenty of fuel. Don't you worry about that. The only thing we do have to worry about is our velocity, and when we land, make sure that we're not going too fast, basically. Otherwise, he'll kind of bounce back into orbit again. He'll hit the ground and bounce forward. Let's see, where's our shadow? Well, we don't seem to have a shadow, but that's okay. So I'll just kind of push this way to stop our orbital velocity, which is basically nothing. And there goes our ship. It's like such a freaky feeling. I know it's gonna be okay, but it's still like... Basically, I'm putting Sir Isaac Newton in the driver's seat. It's like, alright, Newton, you take the wheel. Newton, take the wheel. And here we go. We're basically just floating. Saying goodbye to our ship. Oh, Matlorf is brave, but that's why we rescued him. We saw his potential. So here we come for our final landing on Gilly. And we are down. We are on the surface. Wow. I just walked forward and I'm like in orbit already. This is some crazy stuff right here. I'm just gonna move us to some higher ground just to do some exploring. I gotta make sure not to use too much fuel in the jets, just because I want to make sure that we get back safely. That's good. We'll just land him right here. There he is. So let's have him plant a flag. And that will be Matlorf on Gilly. A place where no Kerbal has gone before. There we are. We'll take the surface sample and get 270 from that. Surface gives way easily and you have a hard time keeping the sample in the container due to the low gravity. Wow. And we'll do the EVA. You can barely move without flying away from the surface. You wish you had brought an anchor. Indeed. Like, if I just walk... Look at that. You just kind of... You just don't stop. Like, that was just me walking forward. I just stepped forward. I'm pretty sure if I jumped, I would get into orbit. There's our ship, 8 kilometers away. So, basically, what we want to do now is just kind of wait. I think we can set it... Yeah, we can set it as target. It won't really do a whole lot for us. But this is going to be way easier than it really seems. Since we're on the surface, we can time warp faster. We can let the EVA Explorer go around. And it looks like we'll be doing this on the dark side, which I don't really like too much. I also don't want to wait too much because I don't like how low this thing is. Even though I'm fairly certain it should be fine, I just get, you know, I just get worried. Because look, see, now the mountains are starting to come up now. And I just don't like how it's rotating like that. But I think maybe it'll be okay. As long as those mountains don't rotate at the periapsis, that would, you know, that would cause us to have some problems. Let's just see how visible things are. Not very. Honestly, I'd prefer to have it in the daytime. Should I risk it? Let's do one more orbit. And if I notice that we're starting to crash, or that it'll get close to crashing maybe, then I'll kind of take control of this ship and boost it out of orbit a little bit. Boost it up to a higher orbit. Well, the sun is just going to start rising on old Matlorf here any minute now. Oh, look at that view. Look at that view. Now that is a dat view right there. That's so cool. That might be the thumbnail. I'm obsessed with the thumbnail. Like, that's gonna be the thumbnail. Alright, yes, we'll just keep warping around and... Oh, please don't crash. I think it'll be okay. Yeah, I think we'll be alright. So, I mean, if you guys are gonna try this, it's basically like any old encounter, really. I'm gonna wait till he gets around to the periapsis, I think, because if he tried to jump into orbit now, it'd be a little too high. Although, let's see. Yeah, and plus we're not quite in the right location. Maybe we'll try for one more. So a lot of things have to line up here. We have to be at the periapsis when this ship is right about here. It might take a couple tries. I think maybe on the next one it'll be good. Yeah, I think this is our window right here. Yep. This is gonna be it. Alright. Let's take a look. We can see it coming up on us now. So when it's right about here, we can just jump basically and get there. Oh, look at Eve has gotten bigger. That's right, because we've gotten closer to the periapsis here. That always looks cool when that happens. But let's warp ahead a little bit further until the ship is basically almost overhead. So we do have to get like a running start here. Let's try that. Here we go. So we are just gonna... Oh, well, there we go. Oh, okay, yep. Jet up and forward. And there, we've already gotten like some kind of encounter. Sorry about that, my hard drive just decided to stop spinning for a second there. So let's see, we can sort of change things. Let's see. If we move, oh, that's worse. Let's move this way. Actually, no. I want to kind of. Up and over this way. So it's just like any old other encounter, but it's kind of just trickier to do it. And in fact, you can probably almost visually do it. Like it's above us, so we'll just push up, and it's over there, so we'll just push to the right. And it's showing us all kinds of interesting things. So let's just wait and see what happens. It says we're going to meet up at about 1.6 kilometers. Well, remember that this way is forwards. Let's try something here. That's better. There we go. Sort of. That was better this way. 0.8. There we go. So you don't really have to use a whole lot of fuel. You just have to use it smartly. And I'm not using it the best right now, but it's getting this there. Ideally, we wouldn't have wanted to move left or right at all, but because we had to wait a few orbits, it moved over naturally. That's why we're a little further apart. That's okay. It says we're going to meet up at 0.8. So then what we'll do is we'll kill our velocity, just like we normally do in any old encounter, in any old rendezvous. So like you see now, it's drifting down, so we want to just push down also. So it stops moving down there. So now we're about even with it, and we'll just wait till it gets to about even with us, and then we'll push left basically to stop it from moving right. It's kind of almost kind of intuitive a little bit. So we'll just wait a little more. We're just kind of floating above here. There, and it's like right there basically, so we'll just, oh, we want to push right, my bad, so we'll push right there. So it's now stopped basically moving that way. We've kind of matched it now, so all we have to do is push towards it now. Make a burnout towards it, just pushing forward, pushing the W key, and we're gonna meet up 0.1. Just naturally let gravity. Now we're drifting up, so we'll just push down a little bit. We're drifting over, so we'll push left. So at this point, it just becomes a game of keeping it from drifting. Just keeping yourself pointed straight at it. We're drifting down, so let's push up a touch. We're almost there. We still have tons of fuel left. So that's great. And Eve is getting bigger. Alright. We're pretty much there. Just gonna make sure we don't smash into it at a high speed. That would be pretty embarrassing, wouldn't it? So now it's just like a regular old EVA. It's just a standard EVA. You're out just outside of your spacecraft, trying to get back in. I think the ladder's on the other side. Yeah, it's over there. So we'll just move around. Hey guys! There's a Kerbal at the window. He wants to say hello. He wants back into his spacecraft. There. We've landed on Gilly, and I think the reason it says we didn't get that one yet is because we have to actually recover it. We couldn't actually transmit any data from the surface, so we have to wait till we get back home, and I'm fairly certain that that will then count as whatever we have. Unless, let me just take a look. Review stored data, EVA from Gilly's surface. Oh, you know, we could just transmit that back. And that should do it. Yep. Bam. So we have successfully finished the Eve and Gilly contracts, both of them, which is quite nice. We have, wow, we got 315,000 for doing Gilly on its own. That's amazing. And we got the data from the surface of Gilly. So that is it. Bam, both contracts are complete. The only thing we have to do now is figure out how to get home, which is a little tricky, because again, we're going to have to line up our phase angles for Kerman. And also, we are not in the correct inclination. So what we'd have to do, basically, is, let's see, have to eyeball it. And again, it's even tricky. We kind of have to make sure that this kind of is matched up as close as possible with Kerman. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I pulled the wrong toggle. It's kind of tricky, because I wish it would tell us the phase angle, or the inclination, the ascending and descending nodes, that's what I'm trying to say. But it doesn't really do that for us. So the best we can do is kind of eyeball it. I think we have to go down. Oh, I keep doing that. I keep pulling a toggle when I keep meaning to just move it around. It's tricky. What? No, don't do that. That's not what I want. Nope. Stop it. Stop it. Something like that, and we can always fix it even further, but let's just go ahead and we'll do that burn. That's pretty close. Like, I'm fairly certain that'll get us there. Let's see, we'll try to warp. And again, we can't quite warp away as fast as we want because we're so close to the surface, so I'm going to make a cut until we get there. Okay, so I basically put ourselves in like a 20 by 20 orbit. This way we can do 100 times warp. And I've also set up a maneuver node just to get us across the ecliptic plane as close as possible to Kerman's orbit. I mean, it doesn't have to be like 100% accurate, but as long as it's down to maybe like 1 degree, it should be enough to get our encounter with Kerman. I might try to use Eve as a slingshot, because Gilly slingshots are basically useless. They don't really do much for you, because Gilly basically has no gravity. There's not much of a slingshot effect we're going to get. But like I said, yeah, we're just going to make this basically this plane change maneuver here, and that should set us up for a nice Kerman encounter. And what I'm going to do next episode, probably, because we're almost out of time, is I'm going to burn back to Eve, get ourselves a nice orbit around Eve, and just slingshot ourselves back to Kerman. But first, before we do that, we have to make sure that our phase angles lined up. So those are things to look forward to in the next episode of Kerbal Space Program, but I won't cut the video off yet because I want to make this burn happen right here, just so you guys can see basically changing the inclination here right down to it. It's only going to take a second. You could basically jettison your piss outside of the spacecraft and get that amount of thrust, so pretty much right at it now. Just gonna make sure it's right down to the mark. That's close enough. So there, basically, and it's a little high for it, but it's practically right across the ecliptic, because we're right across the equator now, and that's in Kerman's, orbit's basically an ecliptic orbit. So cool. That does it for us. So in the next episode, we will, again, I said, we'll line up those phase angles for home, and we'll get these guys back home again with all that juicy science. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.